America's so great we can fight anyone and win.
Even yourself?
Yes, even ourselves. I've been doing some research on the American Civil War. There's a lot of things that started and caused it, and a lot of people think it's fought over slavery. But if you look hard enough, there is a different perspective. Of course there is. There's always another side. There is always another side indeed. However, that doesn't change the fact that it was still about slavery. Nope, it was about you respecting our rights as states. Falsehood. It was about slavery, and you know it was. This was about you respecting our rights as states. You could not decide slavery. What else would it be? We tried helping you as much as possible with Clinton Compromise and everything else. Don't even dare speak about Lincoln that way.
Guys, why don't we...
When you decide to spend as soon as he got elected, we tried to take away more of our rights. But of course, there's always
Guys!
have a point. Apologies. Sorry, man. Thank you. What I was going to say was, why don't you guys go debate this in a mind palace or something? I think that is a great idea. Sure, as long as I get to speak my mind. Well, I'll give you a piece of my mind. See, now if you keep speaking like this, then we won't be able to have a good debate. Well, let's see how this goes then. So, how do we start this? States' rights. You took away our rights and threatened our livelihoods. You wanted to keep owning people. Us, on the other hand, we wanted to keep the Union together since you decided to leave. South Carolina wouldn't have needed to succeed if you actually had our way of life in mind. Plus, the 10th Amendment actually gives states the rights to decide where slavery can or cannot be admitted. Well, we did try to make you guys happy. We offered you the Clinton Compromise, which decided where slavery would be allowed. But that should have been decided by the states. The 10th Amendment doesn't necessarily extend to that. And I quote, "The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people," meaning the federal government should not be able to decide where slavery is or is not allowed. Yes, but that depends on how you interpret the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson, who, by the way, was your Democratic Republican president, conducted the Louisiana Purchase with France, even though it never explicitly says in the Constitution the government can buy land. Okay, I'll give you that. But what about Bleasing Kansas then? And John Brown killing 5 people just because he didn't agree with us? Well, it doesn't represent all of us. You can't control all people. He's still a terrorist. Plus, with the raid on Harper's Ferry, trying to get the slaves to revolt against their masters. He was captured and convicted for treason. You even sentenced him to death and hanged him. Still, he was considered a martyr against slavery. Plus, you conveniently forgot about all the violence he committed before. Typical radical North. Alright. So what about you causing us to go into the nullification crisis? With South Carolina refusing to recognize the federal tariff legislation of 1828 and 1832. That goes against the federal government. Well, good. I'm not sure we should be part of a government that sends troops after its own people. The force bill was only because you refused to pay the tax. Plus, you eventually agreed to respect the tariffs and pay them. Yeah, for the last time, we weren't gonna let that happen again. I'm sorry, what was that again? Nothing. That's what I thought. Vengeful Southerners who won't let go of a grudge. You even left just because Lincoln got elected as president. Lincoln didn't know what was best for us, but at least we had the civilized native tribes on our side, where the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. All you had were parts, tiny little parts of the Cherokee, and some of the Plains Indians. we at least had people who wanted to fight. We didn't have to start drafting until a year after you guys in 1862. Well, that's because Lincoln decided it'd be a great idea to suspend habeas corpus on April 27th, 1861. You kept arresting our people for no reason, so we needed to draft more to fight. And that's just another reason how you took away our rights. President Lincoln was a great man. He freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. Symbolically anyway, you didn't have control over us. President Davis never ordered such a thing like that. So Lincoln only really made an effect where he's already in power. At least we never had to surrender. April 1865 at Appomattox Courthouse. Lee formally surrenders and accepts defeat. We only surrendered because Grant captured Richmond, your capital. Yes, our capital. But we only surrendered because you decided to burn it to the ground. At least we could rebuild the North with our King Corn and King Wheat. Unlike your King Cotton. Guess Europe finally understood that they needed food more. Fine. We surrendered. You won. And that's how it is in history. Are you happy now? As long as you've learned from it. John Wilkes Booth didn't learn. And that's written history. So that's the two sides of the American Civil War. What hurt the South the most was probably not having as many factories as the North did. This made it so they couldn't keep up with the manufacturing of ammunition or weaponry. Each side had their own reasons for fighting. During this time, the South thought their livelihoods were being challenged, so they went out and fought for their states' rights. But now in present day, we know that the American Civil War was fought over slavery. Though the argument of states' rights could be used, that argument stemmed from the argument of slavery. And that's history.